So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Actually, Vijay Suni has some problem with his computer, but he'll manage now. Meanwhile, I just want to ask you, have you started all of you your assignment? Any issue or anything? Manish, with you?
Sir, actually, I am looking for the books so that I can receive books, and in one go, I can dedicate my time and do all the assignment, which I do with all the IGNOU previous courses, sir.
That is true, but I just sent the past draft after designing. They may take few more days or maybe few weeks also. So that may be the past year. This is the challenge for us.
Okay, sir.
After that, no problem. This is the only challenge we have. So, but at least to start, whatever little one or two courses, and maybe over time we'll get.
If I see that the books are not being received well in times, then I will directly do the assignment by reading the PDF books.
Okay, but slowly you start. At least one or two you start. Okay. And I think Vijay is doing, and Mithun, anything you want to share?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, it's my personal view. I went through few of the books, not all, few of the books. I just felt according to the questions like 1,200 to 1,500 words, we have to answer should be in between those words. But the information what we have received in the study material is not sufficient. So
See,
we
I
have
told
to
you
rely
from-
on external source. So we are not sure how much it should be. So
See, most
there
of
I'm
the-
finding little difficulties.
Vijaya, most of the thing you will find lots of material, additional material, okay? And if still there is query, you can ask actually. That's why you're taking simultaneously classes also. And the classes you can always clarify, na, if there are any doubt. You are attending
Yes, sir,
regularly, I
we can,
know.
of course. But when the classes were going on, that time I did not go through with all the study materials. So there is
No
no,
problem.
I mean, how can I raise the question when I don't know the subject itself?
No, that's true. But what I feel, most of the material, it should not be like, it is a base material. You may get some, but don't even too much think about the word limit. It can be little less also. No problem.
Okay. That was the concern.
Not only-
For me, this is an entirely new subject. And of course, I was practically doing certain things, but written way is I'm not aware of. So I just felt that. I don't know about others' opinion. Others can come up and talk. I don't want to take much time.
But
Please.
only the good thing is you'll find lots of material online also. So there is no lots of material.
But so when we go to online, sometimes, sagar chakkar aa gaya because 200, 300 pages. On one
These are
topic.
the skills you have to learn actually, some skills how to, answer. But if you are having common sense, many things will answer actually. Like you are so much participating in one issue, Abha, and all. You know the subject, understanding is there. So just I think understanding is the main thing. Fact and all you can always quote from various sources. But if you understand the thing, that is enough. Like we call, what are if there is no factual question, if it is just question related to how diaspora is soft power, even without reading also you can use common sense.
Yes, sir. That we can do it. Well, okay. Thank you, sir.
There are some, don't think too much about studying material. Actual point, our main point is whether you understood or not. Applied side, you understood or not. Memorizing, getting exact thing what you want, the question you want. Suppose I ask a question little differently, you will be getting problem then. Question should not be always based on what content you have. It can be little, different also to test your understanding level. It can be indirect question, it can be comparative question. If some question can be based on 2 units, or 3 units. So if you understand thing, it will not be difficult. If you think the material should be available in the SLM, then it will be difficult because you have to search exact word and all this. So my request to all of you, you are doing very good in the class. I see you all of you are participating, discussing. That is the way I think it should be, and your understanding level is so high because all the time you are questioning. All of you, Manish is very actively, Abha and you, everybody. So this is the thing I thought of, sharing with you. But still, I feel if there is any critical question, we have option also. If you have any critical question, you can always ask. We can take one session for all difficult questions. But you have choice. All of you have choice. I think around 30% choice is there. You can skip the difficult question. Okay.
I don't want to skip, sir, because when we are studying something, it is better to have a complete knowledge of the subject, what we are studying and what we are knowing. So without half information, we in future, we don't know. We may present in front of our children, family members, or in public or anywhere. So that time, with half knowledge, we cannot go for.
No. One thing, Vijay, I tell you, nothing is final also in this SLN. Datas are changing, perspectives are changing, everything, migration dynamics are changing. Nothing is final. But your understanding also change from time to time, So many things are happening. The data after 2-3 years will change again. Course material will be revised after every 5 years. So nothing is final. Nothing you can say is the absolute truth. So we have to keep revising our side. And when you write something, you have good knowledge, understanding level. The examiner will know few factual errors. They may not, think seriously. You have to think how much you understood. So that aspect is important.
Thank you, sir. Another thing also I have noted, since many years, like we adults, we are not used to write. So the speed of our writing has reduced. So within 3 hours, though whatever the knowledge we are having for examination, I don't think that we can complete the paper.
See, everything is so easy. You don't make things difficult mental level. Okay, people are studying. Many of you, I am also taking classes. I am also studying many courses. Okay, 1 minute. Vijay, I think you have some problem. We'll skip today. Okay. Many it is. There is some problem. So I think I'll finish by then I'll call Mahali. Okay. No. Actually, your issue is I think there is some other problem. So that is the thing I thought. Abha, you wanted to ask you something. One day, what you do, all of you, give me all the questions. I'll give you some kinds of, little, whatever I can, make sense. I'll take 1 or 2 class and talk on those. But you give me in advance so that I can prepare well and give you some kinds of, orientation and some kinds of tips also to write. Is that okay, Manish? You all of us should read the question first.
Yes, sir. I am comfortable with the whole thing. I have prior experience. So, in fact, recently I gave a GNU exam of postgraduate certificate in climate change. 4 subjects were there. It was very complex subjects, but I could take it with this. So, this course is also I mean, for me, it is okay.
I find even Vijay also, it is so nice. She is questioning and all this. It is a good way, she knows the matter. But once you start, don't think of somebody will give you less mark. This don't compare. You be creative. You be whatever you know. Fast to understand. Read fast to understand. Then it will be too easy actually. Don't see the question and search answer in the SLM. That is the very, like high school and children they do. But at this age, you know the society, you know everything. You have lots of understanding, which actually same thing we are writing only. You are also migrant. You know the things. Okay. So many things you know. We are making it, in a material. That is the only difference. And you have good English. So what is the problem? So this you have started.
Yeah, sir. Good morning.
Morning, morning. You have started the work.
Yeah, I'm writing assignments.
You keep writing. Once you write, that dynamism is different. You start writing and
Yes.
do one way. You start writing whatever you know first. Leave the difficult thing. We'll have discussion later on.
Okay, not an issue to me. The course material is very good. 180, 182 pages. Researching relevant answers in that book. At the same time, we are reading that material and writing that one. We are grasping more about that course material, what we topic selected. It's a good everything.
No, actually, for you, so that's also it's not very difficult because you're directly interacting with the
Yeah.
mic and you
Yes.
are. See, we have covered some theory part, okay, and various diasporas, and within India we are covering issues and all this political, economic, and all. Everybody you are familiar, little bit, at least Manish is he knows all the time he's discussing Abha. I think all of you are familiar. Don't undermine your own knowledge. So Vijay is here. I'll
Yes, sir.
You want PPT or you will directly speak?
No, I'll speak with PPT also.
Okay.
PPT, and I'm extremely sorry to everybody
No problem.
at this one. My laptop was not working, so I used another laptop of my son to log in. I think the problem was with my laptop. It was hanging time and again.
Can you share your PPT so that I'll test?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So we'll start talking about it.
Once you share, I'll introduce it.
Can you see it, sir?
No, you go to share screen.
Where do you share the PPT? Share screen.
First to open your PPT, then go.
Yeah. Is it visible?
It's coming. It's coming. Just 1 minute. It's coming. Coming. So let me introduce Dr. Vijay Soni. Dr. Vijay Soni is basically a journalist who worked in all national newspaper, Hindustan Times, Times of India, and now he is a senior journalist at Open Media. He did his PhD from our school only, and I was his supervisor. And he did PhD on new media and diaspora, especially the political aspect, home politics and new media. So he has done excellent work, published papers in research journals and other media. Besides that, he has been present in paper in conference, and his thesis is a very new one in the sense we all talk about new media and how politics is happening. So today I thought, since he has written this unit, I thought it will be better if I can request him and find. He agreed kindly because yesterday only I requested him. So it is so nice of you, Dr. Vijay. I request you now to present.
Yeah, I think we spoke briefly earlier. So my dear apologies to everybody for a delay of another 15 minutes on this one. So we'll speak on a Jews diaspora. This is one diaspora which is quite unique in a sense that it provides a template for all the future diaspora which formed or which are still in the process of formation. So we often call it is a prototype in a sense. Once you know the Jews diaspora, because the time period is a from biblical time onwards till modern times, it is still a continuing process. So once you know the history of Jews diaspora, so you can probably compare it with other diaspora and find out, especially about theoretically speaking, which are the diaspora, which are the real diaspora, and which are simply a migration. There's a difference between diaspora formation and migration. Like Jews diaspora is often given an example of a victim diaspora because they were persecuted and they were victimized over the period. So it is an example of a victim diaspora. Once we talk about Indian diaspora, for example, I will just briefly explain that we are in Indian diaspora is basically a working migration diaspora. What happened like Indian from endangered labor till present time, most of the Indians go out to work to eke out livelihood, to earn money, and so it's not a victim diaspora, which is generally like the Jews diaspora. So you can compare these two diaspora. Like Armenian also, you'll find that they were victimized over a period of time. So this will give a good template to compare other diaspora and also the pathway through which they migrated. And Jews diaspora is directly related with the concept of nationalism. The formation of Israel that we speak about the homeland and the association of diaspora with their homeland. So these are the broad points. So I will briefly begin my presentation by giving you some of the highlights of this diaspora. There are three distinct phases of Jews diaspora. As I spoke, one is biblical or the ancient, and it starts with the birth of Judaism and Christianity. So you see, it is as ancient as a religion of Judaism and Christianity. The medieval period begins from the fall of Roman Empire to the rise of Roman Empire, and which led to a lot of religious conversion and crusade, which happened in Europe, whereby other communities, other religious groups were persecuted. So even Islam and say Jews, they were persecuted once the crusade began. The modern anti-Semitism and the counter-Jewish movement of Zionism. Zionism is another counter movement against anti-Semitism when they started forming, when they began coming together and fighting for their rights, fighting for their political rights, economic rights, and to the formation of a nation. So this movement is called Zionism. And you're well aware of the Nazi regime in Germany when 10 lakhs Jews were persecuted. They were sent to concentration camps, and a very huge number of them were killed in the process. And as I spoke earlier, Jews are part of a victim diaspora because they are persecuted and discriminated by other religious and political powers. And you will believe this is a very important feature of immigration. I was just reading the other day, Mrs. Jayapal in US. She's an Indian American, and she's a congresswoman. And she was being shouted at, you go back to India. So this is a continuous narrative which we'll find through all the diaspora and most of the immigrants, especially when they do very well in their host countries, in the places where they migrate and they are economically well off. So this kind of a persecution generally happens in countries where they are doing very well. In other places where they are in minority and they are not able to, they are not economically that powerful, you will find less incidences of racism and discrimination against them. So this was another very important feature. The history of Jewish diaspora is one of captivity, exile, alienation, and isolation. So this is a common feature you will find ki all through the periods they were segregated from the main population or from the natives people. Now see, it's a very interesting thing. Jerusalem, which is a site of all the three religions, that is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And there it is a place, it is a site of conflict, I would say. It is a site of a conflict which was there during biblical times and during ancient times, and it still continues. It still continues with the same. So if you see, we haven't grown much from the time. It was surprising, but I was just realizing we haven't grown that much as a culturally or as an individuals or as a nation, because the region of conflict continues till date. So now let's speak about ancient Jews diaspora. Why I'm stressing on their history, because these are the main highlights, main incidences of any of a Jews diaspora, which will help you to compare it with other diaspora. At the same time, you can even chart out the pathways of future migration or future diaspora formation. So as I mentioned earlier, that Jewish diaspora is the earliest and the oldest of the ancient diasporas. Jewish diaspora is considered a prototype or archetype on which other diasporas are defined, and often comparisons are drawn. William Safran, you must be aware that he based all his theoretical and conceptual framework on diaspora formation based on Jews. He speaks about homeland, he speaks about their attachment with the homeland. So even the Old Testament warns Jews that those who deviate from religious laws will be dispersed in various parts of the world and will lead a life of suffering and deprivation. Now, this reference is in the Old Testament. So, and this was a reason to keep society together, to keep them intact, to keep them at one place, so that they contribute for the economic growth. Even the word diaspora in present meaning is a Greek translation from the Bible with reference to only Jews. In Hebrew, the ancient language of Jews, they have an equivalent word called Gola and Galu, meaning banishment and exile, thus referring to Jews' expulsion from their homeland, which was promised to by Prophet Moses. Jerusalem and Palestine were the thriving centers where Judaism and Christianity prospered, as I mentioned earlier, and that was a site from where they dispersed to different parts of the world. Even we'll come across Babylon, the place where they migrated in large number, and that became a site of learning. It's not always that once you are expelled from your homeland, so at certain places, because of your skills, because of your expertise, you get a very thriving sites where you are welcome, or maybe you are given concessions to prosper because you contribute to their economy, to the host economy. You must have heard about and learned about Judas, about the betrayal of Christ. You know, when he helped them, when they helped them in help the Romans towards crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So that was a Christian theology, and from there began the prejudice against Jews. You know, they are not the people who can be trusted. So even when you talk about racism or when you talk about discrimination, it has a history. So maybe this was a wrong example to cite, but this how it became a main narrative in Christian theology. And because most of the Europe was inhabited by Christians, so they become an easy victim of their prejudices. So as a result, the stigma of sin, scattering, and repentance it was attached to the Jews diaspora. And that's how the hostility of Christians against Jews began. The first record of Jews we talk about in Mesopotamian Empire, when they had invaded Jerusalem and destroyed the famous Solomon Temple, which was the holy site of Jews. Jews leader Zedekiah declared a rebellion against the Mesopotamians, and there was a revolt from against the Babylonian king, which led to the killing of Zedekiah, who was the main leader of Jews. Even his sons were persecuted. Their eyes were taken off in front of him, and he was taken to Babylon. Along with Zedekiah, a good number of Jews migrated to Babylon, and this was probably the first mass migration of Jews from Jerusalem to Babylon. Over the course of time, Babylonian regimes became more tolerant to Jews and other ethnic groups. Once the leader changed, so they became they realized the importance of the immigrant community in economic contribution. So they were given more liberty, more freedom. And one king, a Persian king named Cyrus, once he conquered Babylon, he encouraged Jews to return to the homeland or to the place, to his kingdom, so that they can contribute, economically contribute to their well-being. Babylon, it was in Babylon that the Jews' laws were codified. The religious book Torah, which is basically a law book, which gives you the rules, social, religious, and cultural regulations of Jewish community. And especially often Jews have been compared with Hindus because of their practice of, say, food practice, their puritanical way of living, their prohibition on exogenous marriages, that they cannot marry outside the community. So how they are. That's why sometimes the comparison is done, and you find a very close-knit work which is happening with present-day India and with Israel, and a lot of collaboration is happening in defense and other places. Similarly, when the Greece started conquering different part of the world, and it begins with the Asia Minor. So they tried to Hellenize the Jerusalem, the Jewish community, with their own art and culture. And even subsequent to Greeks, when the Roman came, their king Titus invaded Jerusalem and destroyed the second temple of Jews, that led to exodus of and dispersal of Jews to various parts of the world. And from this period onward, they had been migrating to different parts of the world, like Middle East, Central Asia, North Africa, and Europe. And in the meantime, Babylon was slowly emerging as an epicenter of Jewish thought, theology, and intellectual life. Even their thought leaders, they started forming and codifying laws, regulations, and giving a religious shape to their community. There was another Sasanian Persian, the empire which was formed in Persia, had become a melting point of culture, religions, and artistic expression, and where Jews were welcomed and with other ethnic communities. Thus began the process of engagement, encounter, emulation, and competition within this Jewish community. Now, as I spoke earlier, we talk about them as a victim diaspora. So if we begin to cite from the very beginning how it all happened. So how do we define victim diaspora? A victim diaspora is often characterized by dispersal following a traumatic event in the homeland, as in the case of Jews. So, and as I said earlier, there are cases of Armenian diaspora is also a victim diaspora, and but not in case of Indian diaspora or Filipino diaspora or say modern day diaspora, which happened during the colonial period. Hostility between Judaism, Christianity, and of course the region were Crusades in the medieval period. It was characterized by greater brutality and mass killing of Jews. For example, at Mainz in Rhine Valley, some 1,000 Jews were put to death. On their arrival in Jerusalem in 1099, Crusaders collected the Jews in a synagogue and burned them alive. In the kingdom of Naples, the entire Jewish population was wiped out between this period. They were asked to wear a Jew's hat as a mark of their segregation from other Christian population. They also became the victim of a huge victim of Inquisition and Reconcilia, which happened in France, Spain, and Portugal in late 15th century. To avoid persecution, many of them pretended to be Christians and were identified as Maroons. So now this is a very important term that you can keep in mind. Maroons are the people who either converted to Christianity or the one who pretended to be Christians in order to save themselves from the crusade or the discrimination which was happening against them during the medieval period. And eventually they dispersed to countries like Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and other Mediterranean countries, and went down even as far as Poland and Lithuania and Russia to settle down. In the meantime, Amsterdam, which was building its budding mercantile empire, Amsterdam was famous for its navy and trade. So they welcomed Maroons. These communities, which either converted to Christians or which pretended to be Christians, they were invited in Amsterdam, and where they formed a very powerful trading community, which I think still continues. So this is a very good example of how a victim diaspora transformed itself into an entrepreneurial community. Now these are some of the images that you can see how it happened during the medieval period, how they were burned alive, how they were tortured. So the formation of diaspora, I don't say in modern times what we find is more political, whereas in the ancient and medieval time it was the religious aspect which governed their migration or dispersal. So, and as I mentioned earlier, that the conflict between these three religions, that is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is how the Jewish diaspora of medieval period is defined. As I said, to understand Jewish diaspora, it is important to understand its relation and interaction with Christianity and Islam. To escape Spanish Inquisition, a good number of Jews had also fled to Middle East in 15th century. And both Jews and Muslims were persecuted under the Christian crusade. Now, Jews and Muslims both were persecuted. This was an important factor. With the arrival of Prophet Muhammad and Islam in Medina in 622 CE, there was a mass exodus of Jews in the Middle East. Now, you see how it is happening one period after the other. It is not all through this period, and it is still continued till whenever a new religion comes into force. Like when Islam came, they were persecuted and they had to leave that place. And the reason why they are called a victim diaspora. Many of them had to accept inferior status also with say a Muslim population in this country. When Caliphate was formed in Byzantine, so by that time there was a kind of a assimilation and I would say a better understanding between these these religious groups, Christians and Judaism, and by that time they had settled down and they had formed a more cohesive group and were not discriminated as it was during the early medieval period. Jews and Christians were accorded an inferior status as compared to Islam, as I mentioned earlier, and even so much so that to segregate them from the rest of the population, they were supposed in their houses. You know, they were asked to fix a wooden image of devil, so that they could be identified. You know, this Jews' home, and they were also banned from using horse as a they cannot ride horse and they cannot carry arms. Some of the things that continues in some of the continues in minority communities. In case of legal dispute, for example, there is a legal dispute when Muslim, Christians, and Jews. So these communities which were in minority, especially in Jews and Christians, their words were not taken as a witness. They were not given importance or precedence over what a Muslim said or justified before the court. So they were again in the legal system also, they were given a secondary treatment. And some of the major center of their settlement was in Baghdad, Aleppo, Basra, and Damascus. Damascus emerged as a major center settlement of Jews during the medieval period. So you have gone through this thing, and let me come out to straightway to some of the important. Now this is a very important thing that you see. We have always there are three groups of diaspora which spread out to different geographical settlement, and they are recognized as of now. One is Sephardim of Iberian Peninsula, which happened during the ancient time, and then the Jews of Middle East, which happened during the medieval time, and in the modern time, when once you find they migrate to Jews, Germany, Russia, they fall under the category they are called Ashkenazim of Northern Europe. So these are the three different geographical formation of Jewish diaspora which happened over the period. Ashkenazim is a very important stage because this was the birth of, this led to the birth of Zionism and the formation of Israel as well. Now here is a broad geographical distribution of Jews all over the world. So that you see, this is they have a huge number in USA. Of course, Israel is surprisingly there are said to be more Jews in the USA than Israel, their hometown, the country, which is supposed to be the place of their origin. And France, of course, France had a long history of Jews. Canada, Britain, Argentina, Russia, Germany, Brazil, South Africa, Ukraine. So these are the descending order. But the important point to be taken into account is these these three categories, where like in USA, diaspora formation was much later, especially after the Second World War, and they have become a very powerful political groups also. Once we talk about lobbying, so you realize that they are a very strong lobbying group, which has become an example for other diaspora formation, even for when you talk about Indian lobbying, which happens in the US. That's model on the Jewish diaspora. How do they network with the political leaders and to espouse their cause? Something that you are aware of in 2004 Indo-US nuclear deal, how lobbying played a very important role. And that's more or less, they learn these things from Jewish diaspora. So, and that's why I keep on saying there is a close association between Indian diaspora and Jewish diaspora in US and in some of the other countries. Because there are a lot of similarity in one way or the other, which academicians have brought it out. Now, when we talk about Ashkenazim, this one, from the medieval period when the Roman Emperor Chadlingham was, he encouraged a lot of Jews to settle down in his territory. They were a very dominant group in banking, especially in France. Like if you map out their skill set, so you'll realize they were very good at trade to begin with. We don't come across many examples of there being a very good skill artisans, although there are examples, but that was not that much as you find them. They were very good at trade and forming network. So that played a very important role for their migration, referral migration, which kept on happening, that you migrate from one place to another. One country, at one place they are being persecuted, so they had such a strong network that the other community living in another part of the world would help them out. So they found a very strong network because of their trade, and that was the reason why they were being invited by various kingdoms during the medieval period and even during the colonial period also. And as I said, in France there was a very powerful banking group, so much so that local population, the natives, started fearing them because they will be in complete control of the economy. And it was rumored that there was a conspiracy against France national interest because Jews had dominated and they will make France bankrupt the day they want. Something that we still find, and now I'm not going to name it, but you can compare different economy that we talk about. So it was this perception that led to anti-Semitism in the late 19th and 20th century. Now this is how you need to theorize racism or discrimination or anti-Semitism or any kind of I would say, antagonism which happens against it in any community. So this was the reason why it all began, and that was also responsible for their mass persecution and killing in Second World War in Germany. I'll share with some of these examples. Like one incident is very famous. We call it a Dreyfus affair, in which happened in 1884, when a Jewish army, when a Jewish army officer was falsely implicated by spying by Germany. Now, this name is a very important name. We call it Theodor Herzl. Now, he was a Vietnamese, he was a Viennese journalist covering the incident and was the main leader, the main think tank of Zionism. And he started saying, Jews cannot be safe in any other part of the world except on their homeland, except in their own countries. And he was a main ideological leader who started talking about the formation of Israel. Can you all hear my voice?
Yes, sir. Very much.
Yeah, there was a
Yes,
message
sir.
coming up. Okay. Now you need to remember this name because he was the main ideological leader who was responsible for the formation of Israel and to begin with Zionism much earlier. And again, when we come to 20th century, we realize the impact of 1920s US economic depression further fueled the anti-Semitism feeling against Jews, who were by and large a prospering community in the US. So in although US you don't find that much, but rest of the world, it was a spiral kind of a thing which was happening in other part of the world. So there is when any country or there is a global crisis, even during pandemic or maybe when there's a mass layoff happening in various industries. So one community always target the other one. The way you see in the US, you can compare this thing with India, a very starting feature which will be very useful for you to bring this contrast. Okay, why it is happening. Russia also, again, there was a mass persecution when Bolshevik movement began against Russia in Russia. But much before that, there was again in Russia also there was a very powerful community. Jews are considered to be a very interpret community, and that's why in Russia also once they started doing well, they were being discriminated by the political forces, by the political leaders. And there was a rumor that there is a conspiracy of Jewish capitalism, Jewish Bolshevik, which is going to take over Christian Germany. Now, this is an example of how during the Second World War, they were being sent to mass camps and mass chambers, and they were persecuted in huge number. The rise of anti-Semitism and Zionism. Now, anti-Semitism is an exclusionist racial phenomena which first appeared in 1870s as part of the European nationalism when the so-called purity of races was gaining ground. We speak about Aryans, the main philosophy of purity of races, which was the main contention of Adolf Hitler. So there was a time when an intellectual thought was being given to purity of races. So more or less, if you realize, when there is a political churning happening, so even the intellectual group, they side with one ideology or the other. And so you'll find that a lot of academic work happened during those periods also. Some of them scientifically and unscientifically spoke about purity of races, purity of blood, purity of genes. So with it began the persecution of Jewish people who were considered to be inferior race as compared to Aryans. Prussian nationalist historian Heinrich von Dietrich coined the term, the Jews are our biggest misfortune. thereby cementing the prejudicial and racial feeling against the Jews. I am focusing more on this aspect because, uh, although you don't find many instances of this kind against Jews these days, but it is happening against other communities, other minority communities. So you can draw a parallel, and thereby began the concept of white supremacist, which came into force, and the birth of Caucasian as a separate racial stroke was given in 1781, and from henceforth began the concept of superiority and inferiority of these two races. According to the misconceived ideology, the Aryans were considered to be racially superior and belonging then against Semitic Jews or Romanian Gypsies. The Jewish persecution in Nazi Germany and Nazi occupied regions of Eastern and Western Europe had unleashed a new wave of Jewish immigration. A large number of Jews, numbering about 6 million, were trapped in Nazi dominated camps, and they fell victim to history's most heinous Holocaust, which they call it as a Shoah. The persecution of Jews during the World War II and anti-Semitism led to counter-Jewish movement, which we call it a Zionist movement. There emerged another group of Jews who were religious zealots and wanted the supremacy, who wanted the supremacy of Talmud, their religious book. Those say, everything that is going to be covered, that is, something that we could talk about, I would say, more conservative community, more orthodox community. They say the most important thing about is the religious book, and everybody, the Jews, whether living in Israel or the rest of the world, should follow it. And they despise the secular Zionists and their liberal ideologies. So this is another movement which was happening along with the Zionism. The concept of Greater Israel was therefore invented, and a Jewish community started forming and creating a political force for the formation of Israel and occupation of West Bank. As early as 1942, Elmer Berger, founding member of the American Council of Judaism, put forth anti-Zionist ideology. Elmer Berger said that the very idea of Zionism was anti-national. Now, you see, I would say within this community, you find different current of ideologies happening. They were saying, Zionism, because Israel, Jews had been dispersed all through the world during the historical period, and they were doing, and they, of course, there were cases of their mass murder, their killing, and discrimination. But they say the very concept of Zionism is against the philosophy of Jews dispersal, because they have been living a long life and they were doing pretty well in different part of the world. So they say, Jews cannot be confined to any particular ideology and to a particular place, like in Israel. So they are bound to be spreading to different part of the world and doing well. So it is more liberal kind of ideology. There is no territory. There is no territorialization of a community or a religious group that should be there. He said that the survival of Jews across the globe was proof that it has a universal dispersal, and accused Zionism of perpetuating fascist and racist tendencies within Jews community. This was happening. He said that the most creative and intellectually stimulating phase of the Jews community was in diasporic living, when they were we spoke about Babylon, when most of their religious books were codified, and a lot of artistic and cultural activities took place. So that was so that's why he said, most of the creativity came out when Jews were in dispersal phase, when they were in different part of the world. The Zionists, on the other hand, emphasized the consolidation of Jews diaspora and took pride in creation of Israel. They supported the Jewish hierarchical order and claimed of Zionists as a sole representative of Jewish people. Critics said that the politics of Jews' homeland had become the politics of checkbook, which helped the Jewish Nationalist Fund in building Israel. So like we talk about contribution, something that we speak about nationalism. So basically, their loyalty to homeland was measured with the amount of money which was sent to their homeland. So I think how much time is left? Still, I don't, let me check it out. Just a sec, please. Yeah, I still have another 5 minutes. And then let me, do you want me to open things for the question and discussion?
Yes, sir. What you said, sir?
Do you want to discuss certain questions, or let me quickly go through this slide, which will.
This question we can discuss in that will be appropriate.
Okay, let me finish it quickly.
Yeah.
So we talk about the creation of Israel and the formation of homeland of the Jews. As I mentioned earlier, Theodore Herzl had urged the creation of Jews' homeland when he published his much famous book called The Jewish State, the Judenstaat, they say it. With the collapse of Ottoman Empire and the end of the First World War, the process began, and the creation for the creation of Israel. Earlier, because of racial and political discrimination, Jews were barred from political participation in various countries. Like wherever they were living as a minority group, they did not enjoy the political rights to vote or to elect their say political leaders. Despite living for decades and in some cases for centuries, they were not granted citizenship rights, and it happened much later in some of the countries. Like in the US, citizenship right was given to them in 1789, in France 1791, and in some of the countries much later in 18th century. The creation of national homeland for Jews came much later with the declaration of Lord Bedford on November 2, 1917. When the British withdrew from Palestine on May 14, 1948, the Israeli army occupied the land and proclaimed the State of Israel. As a result, some 3.9 million Palestinians had to leave their home, seeking refuge in the neighboring countries. Now, here you see a stark irony that once a community is getting its homeland and the other community is losing its homeland. So Jews were getting a homeland in Israel, and a lot of migration was happening among the Palestinians who had migrated, who left the country and went elsewhere. So gain of one community is the loss of another community. So there is an irony. And again, when the Palestinians went out, they formed another diaspora in different part of the world. Now this is how Jainism and Israel became, the concept became more strengthened. Now, post-Israel and post-Zionism and Jews diaspora. I think most of the things which I have highlighted in this one I have already mentioned. Yeah. Yes, there are, I would say, the creation of Israel, however, is still contested, especially by the Middle East countries. And so much so that their capital, Jerusalem as their capital, was recognized much later. So these are some of the highlights during this phase, and how diaspora was formed, and how Israel was formed, and which countries contributed how much as a kind of a reparation to Jewish community. And incidentally,
Can you please go back? Certain things were there which you not see.
So you'd like to have a look to this one?
Yes, I'm looking everything. Yeah.
So yeah, you can have a look, and then maybe I can, let me minimize this one. The recreation of Jewish identity and the state of Israel have created its own contradictions, as I mentioned earlier. There are different groups of people. While Jews were victims of traumatic events at home, they themselves became the reason for the displacement of 3.9 million Palestinians. The State of Israel was formed with the financial help from Germany as per the Luxembourg Agreement. Germany paid some 3 billion marks as war reparations to Israel and as repentance for the Holocaust. The US and the Jewish diaspora also helped by providing finances and by lobbying with economic powers. The creation of Israel was, and as I said earlier, uh, is still contested in some of the countries. You know, when even during the modern phase, the formation of Jews as a community was not taken kindly by other communities, and especially Pope Pius X. He warned Jews that either they convert to Christianity or they would not be recognized as a separate religious group. The US giving a formal recognition to Jerusalem as the capital of Israel by establishing an embassy there in May 2018. The creation of Israel, however, has posed a peculiar problem to Jewish diaspora as it forced them to choose between the host country and the home country. Sorry, host country and the home country, because there is still a good number of Jews who do not want to go to Israel, especially those living in the US who are doing pretty well. So, and somehow they are also within the Jewish community, they are not given, they are given a very cold treatment. People who are not contributing to their homeland, you know, more jingoist community group of the people. The Zionists were the harbinger of Jewish nationalism and exhorted Jewish diasporic youth to extend their skills in building Israel. Many of these Jews participated in the progressive social movement in France and in the Russian Revolution, as well as in labor union and anti-apartheid in South Africa. So they have been also a participant in the political movement in those countries where they had settled down. The post-Zionist movement lays greater emphasis on Jewish identity outside their homeland. Now, you see, post-Zionist, the modern thing is like, you know, you should have a Jewish identity even if they are living outside the homeland, outside Israel. With the creation of Israel, there has been a voluntary one-way movement of Jews to their reinvented homeland. The Sapras, those who were born in Israel but have now left their homeland, are new Jewish diaspora, who is redefining the concept of Jewish diaspora in postmodern world. Yeah, I think this is a final recognition to their contribution and the contribution of the youth in this phase. So this is all a comprehensive explanation, I think. Now we can speak about the other things and discuss it out. Yeah, please. Anybody has any question?
Yes, sir. My comments are indeed very in depth. Dealing with the issue of Jews, as a community. I had prior good understanding of the Jews issue, but you have got even deeper into the history. So that was, I think, very welcome thing. The questions or the comment which I want to make again, like the basic question is that people claim against Jews that, for example, they take very high interest rate, and that was the reason Muslims used to loathe them, hate
Absolutely,
them.
absolutely.
So what are the issue? Why this kind of hatred against Jews is there? I mean, it should not be dealt that by talking this issue, I should be again supporting the claim that to see them with the suspicion.
Right.
I mean, there must be something out there. For example, one thing I know that during Muhammad's time and even before, the Jews were known to take very high interest rate.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why in Islam, taking interest is prohibited.
Right. So, in fact, if you see, Islam was a counter movement against many religious practices of say, Jews, Christianity, and even the Indic religions. So, there are many things that you can compare these two. I think Jews are, of course, they have been into business for a long time, and charging a high interest rate was probably, as a community, they also got an opportunity to exploit. Like, it is just a kind of thing, who gets the first opportunity. So when their turn came, they exploited those people by charging high interest rate. And when the say cycle was was invented, so when it turned upside down, then it was an opportunity for the local community, for the natives to exploit them. So it is just a kind of thing that who gets the opportunity to exploit the between the immigrants and the native community, who is exploiting whom, and what are the ground realities existing at that time. So of course they were into business, and they had accumulated wealth, and they were charging high rate of interest. And why they were charging high rate of interest is, I think, could be easily explained by the vulnerability of the other community. Had the other community been more politically powerful, they would not be charging such a huge high interest rate.
Now, after the creation of Israel in 1948, what kind of impact it had on the Jewish community around the world? Now, for example, now we can say that yes, there is a nation for Jewish people. Okay. So has it created a kind of environment that now you can go back, there is a place for you out there? So what impact it has on the people who are spread all across the world? How the national government or those domestic society view Jews as now?
Yeah, there's always a pull factor. Homeland, there's always a pull factor. And as I said earlier, there is still a division within the Jewish community. Those who want to go to Israel and those who want to live outside Israel. And as a result, if you see, there's more people in fear of living outside Israel than going back to Israel. Because in Israel, I came to know that life is not so easy for you as in some of the other countries. There are certain rules and regulations that you have to abide by, which you might agree or may not agree. And that is the reason why a good number of Jews are there in US rather than Israel. Had they found the atmosphere or economic opportunities more conducive in Israel, I'm sure they would have gone to Israel. So globally, if you see, there are more Jews outside Israel than in Israel. That in itself explains why people do not want to go there. Probably they have lived there for generations, and they find more comfortable, more opportunities, more social multiculturalism thing in their favor, and that's the reason probably they might not be wanting to. Yeah, anybody else from the class? I just wanted to listen to more people.
Yes, sir.
I have just last issue.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So now, after the creation of Israel, now we know the 6-day war, 2 wars have taken place. And the Muslim world war up against them, Israel. They wanted to, they have used all the trick to, to destroy Israel. But because Israeli has a feeling that now we have a place of own and we want to save it at any cost, and that is the reason why the Israeli stand. There is strong unity out there.
Now, they have a very strong nationalism, and which they have deliberately created, cultivated, and nurtured.
Yeah.
So,
now,
that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. But now you see that we can see that the winds are changing now. Now after the Abraham Accord, now the GCC and the Israel relation, diplomatic relation has started. Now my question is that what impact it will have on the Palestinian cause?
See, if you see, there has not been a major movement or major, I would say, aggressive approach from the Palestinian in recent times. For the last 1 decade, you don't find anything major, and especially with the decline in worldwide, I would say, prejudice against Muslims or Islam or Arabian kind of this thing. So there has been a certain kind of a dilution which has happened. Had this situation been which was earlier, maybe 20 years back, probably they would have a larger, more strong chances or of getting coming together and giving a strong stand against Israeli movement or Israel expansionism. So yeah, this is my personally what I feel like. So it is a weakening of the community as such within the Islamic world, which has been responsible for for the dilution of Palestinian demands or fulfillment of their demands. Yeah, please.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
I would like to share one of my experiences related to this issue.
Yeah, please.
In 2008, I was working for one of the Indian schools in Kuwait, where 18 to 20 nationality students used to study.
Okay.
There, I was teaching mathematics for small children. So I taught the students how to draw a star. Later, in higher classes, to encourage students who have completed these notes, I marked star in their books. But surprisingly, the next day when I went to school, I had to face a lot of opposition and allegations and all that I'm promoting Israeli
Yeah.
symbols. It
Got it.
was first time I came to know about Jews community. Earlier, I never knew, and I never read also during my educational life in India.
Right, right. Yeah.
I never met the people also. My knowledge
So,
was very little that time. So I was literally, I don't know what to say, how to say. And it was very difficult time for me to explain parents that I was just teaching shapes to the children and I was just encouraging students for writing their notes. That's it, nothing else. Even you have done this earlier also in your question papers. You have given excellent and then so many stars. Why? Oh my God. So later, the principal intervened and she spoke to the parents and she explained that this is how it is one of the mathematical symbol, all the stuff. Then they were convinced, but still they didn't wanted their children to be in my classroom. So this incident I had faced earlier. Later, they understood, but still that hatred was there. So the parents are transmitting this hatred with the small children. How can we prevent this?
yes, yes. Very thanks, Vijay, for narrating this wonderful say experience, and which could be quite useful for so many other people in this class. And also, I think you should have taken a course in diploma in migration much earlier. Then you would be knowing this one.
Did not introduce.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came
So
to
that
Kuwait in 1995.
yeah, that could have prevented you from this embarrassing situation. I do understand, and your question is to how to prevent is, I think it is majorly awareness. It is awareness that is necessary among the parents and people, and especially in the place that you are and you are in. So there is not much of a literacy among the parents. So and probably also people who teach, like you, me, and all of us, who are some of us are policy or education or different fields. So that helps. Something that you're learning from here, that you need to understand the cultural aspect. For example, if I go to South Korea, or yeah, so I need to know, because I am there, what are the things which are favored and what are the things which are not favored, and which are the friendly community and which are the antagonistic or community against which the community doesn't have a good feeling. So probably I think this is a lesson not only for you but for all of us, that to map this fact before taking up any profession or before taking up any job. You need to study this one. This is a kind of a homework which is required to be done. Am I clear, Vijay?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
and moreover, I think you see this cultural aspect was so important when the British came. So all the ICS, Indian civil servants, which were sent to India, they were trained there in Britain. They used to go through an orientation course which they were taught, okay, what are do's and what are don'ts. What are the things that is culturally favored and not to be done. So I think it is a very important thing. And And you can take out some more example of this kind, so that it could be a, in fact, if you are keen, then it could be a very good topic to write a paper also, in case you can take out more example of this kind with experiences of other teachers. And because this was a very inadvertent and very inadvertent, I would say, practice. This was not deliberately done to, yeah.
After that incident, sir, what I did, I took the list of all the students who were in my classroom, and I requested other teachers also to give me the list of the students. I marked all their religion and nationality. I started talking to the students, particularly small children. I started talking to them. I started spending more time with the students to understand their culture, like the practices at home, culture, religion, and all. So it really helped me during that time. So that helped me to survive in that school till I could find better opportunity in some other place. More than 5 years, I can say. So yes, yeah, it happened, sir.
Yeah, that's. I think we all need to be careful about it. We need to do some kind of a homework and mapping of practices, cultural, religious, and political also. And even so much so that when it comes to vocabulary also, certain words which are like not taken kindly, a word which is maybe a favored word for in Kerala or in Tamil Nadu, but may not be favored. It might have a really say it might not be the same word, but it could be same pronunciation. It could be same say facial expression or a figurative expression. So we need to be careful about this one.
With my experience, I can say one word, sir. One thing, sir. In schools in Kuwait, they are really good. Administration is good, but teachers, we are not updated. Now, along with the technology, some teachers who are curious, they are updating themselves. But schools, very few schools only asking teachers to update themselves and testing their knowledge and encouraging them to, update their knowledge. It is not happening. But during 90s and 2000, when I worked, that time nothing was there. Even the teacher who can speak English, who can write in English, she can become a teacher. Even if she is a housewife, no problem. She don't have graduation, no problem. She can become, if she know how to handle the students or manage the class. This used to happen. I'm sorry to say, but this was the bitter truth.
Yeah. I think we need to be all on the learning trajectory. Thanks, Vijaya. Thanks for sharing this one. Anybody else who has got anything to say?
I think let's conclude.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have a next class.
So thank you, Dr. Vijay.
Sir, I have some questions.
Yeah, please.
Okay, you can.
Sir, have you considered like in the entire presentation, Jews as an ethnic community or a race or a national diaspora?
See, I would say they fall into ethnic community. Okay, ethnic community, which was like the main identity is based on their religion. The
but
main
we have
identity
like
is
Malabar Jews, Cochin Jews who are kind of black Jews. Israel.
Yeah, that's why I say basically, see, when we talk about race, although race is the first identity marker, but eventually for people adopt different religion. So you are identified more by your religious affiliation rather than your ethnic identity because of your dispersal. Okay. For example, if I can from a person from Morocco has settled down in India, and he has, for example, taken to Hinduism. Okay, so he is an example of Moroccan race, but by religious affiliation, he's a Hindu, Islam, or whatever religion he has taken to. So there are multiple identities also involved. In diaspora, you'll study multiple identity involved. And especially when people migrate for a long duration, and that too in multiple countries.
Yes.
So these are the basically identity markers.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Vijay.
Okay, sir. Yeah,
Now,
thank you, sir.
now I think you all know Dr. Mahalingam, so it's not new to you. So I'll not introduce much, but briefly saying he also did his PhD on diaspora and the Tamils in Malaysia. Besides that, he has written lots of paper, and now he's teaching at G. Mahalingam, what is that university name? SGT University, Gurgaon. So Mahalingam, the stage is yours. Hello. Mahalingam.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, you please share your PPT and maybe.
Yes. I am just opening my video. I think.
Vijay, you have to close your PPT, then only he can open.
Yeah, nice to see Vijay also, Dr. Vijay. Good afternoon. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes.
And I'm visible also now. So, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all back after a week. And also, I'm very happy and glad to meet Dr. Sahu also on screen. And hello to all of you. I think you all having lectures from 11 o'clock. So I also have a lecture for you for an hour. That'll be nice. So I'll be speaking on today the politics of the impact of politics on migration and immigration, whatever you call it. So we are going to discuss about that. And I'm just going to open my PowerPoint. Just give me a minute. Yes, it's there. And I think it's visible now.
Yes, visible.
Actually, in fact, it's a very long topic. The title is very long. Can you all see the topic? What is the topic? Impact of politics on immigration and immigration. So I want to ask you, what is immigration? What is immigration? Okay. Anyone from this class? Let us, be clear what I am going to speak on. This is the topic: immigration on WTO, Bhumiputra in Malaysia, racism, citizenship issues in Gulf, visa policy of selective countries like USA and Canada. Okay, so it's a very lots of topics in one theme which I'm going to cover. So now, before going further, I like to know the meaning of the concepts, like what is immigration, what is immigration. Anyone from this class, please open your mic and speak to me.
So first word is immigration is when a person from one country goes to other country. So this is from the perspective of the migrating country. Other word, immigration is from the destination point of view, that these many people have immigrated in my country.
Okay. Others, anybody from this class? Vijaya is there, and a lot of people, like there are, 8 participants. I want to talk to everyone. See, that's what we should have a dialogue. It's not a monologue, At the
Good morning, sir.
Teachers are facilitators. We are not we are going to discuss. That's all. I'm not going to lecture it, So I want a response from others like Vijaya and others like.
Good morning, sir. In previous session, I had taken a lot of time to ask a question and answers. Now I want all my other fellow students. They should come up and ask questions, and I will be a listener here.
Atul Kumar Gupta, I think he's from Banaras. Am I right, Atul?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good afternoon.
I'm agree with the statement of Manish, sir, that like immigration is the kind of that process. The people who move down from one country to another country intended to settle down there, and the immigration would be from the perspective of the home country, it would be immigration, and from the perspective of the host country, it would be immigration.
Okay. Fine. So Atul, so last time we interacted, so hope you are getting clear about your thesis title on Myanmar, okay?
Obviously, sir. Yes.
Hope I think you have finalized the topic of your thesis, or what is like what area you're going to look at it. I told you, you have to look at the different streams of migration to Myanmar. Don't focus on only the recruitment pattern, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm
That's
trying
great.
to look at.
And what about Abba? Abba is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I will finalize my topic, sir. That topic is actually, I'm focusing the various patterns, actually, various patterns across the India, like land immigration from India, as well as the sea route immigration from India. That
Okay,
I'm
good,
focusing
good.
on both.
That's good. That's good. Abba, what about your response?
Abha madam is not able to speak. She has given a text message.
What?
She will not able to talk because she is in a meeting. She is just following this lecture.
Acha, okay, okay. She wrote it in the chat box. Okay. Sir, I will not be able to talk because I am in a meeting, but do it for class quarterly. Okay, that's I got it. Sudesh, and also Manish from Punjab. Yeah, Manish, all you can open up. Please come on. Okay. So see, let me put it very simple way, and I see, Manish Tripathi is here. Manish Tripathi, you said rightly, and also Atul also said. But let me tell you a very simple way to keep this in mind. Emigration is moving out. Emigrating means moving out from origin country to destination country. Clear, Manish? Moving out.
Yeah.
Immigration is matlab moving in. That's called what? Immigration. The simplest way of keeping in mind. Immigration is I'm emigrating from India to the US. That is emigration. Immigration means I am an immigrant, from India to the US. So immigration is moving in. So now I'm going to discuss about the politics today. Migration has been politicized. My immigration and immigration have been politicized because of the increase of international migration. Today, there is a rise of international migration due to, forced migration or voluntary migration. So because of that, the last few decades, there has been rise of international migration. Look at this picture, this picture will give you that, it's a kind of today people are like, traveling back and forth in search of opportunities, as well as because they're forced to migrate because of due to civil war or fundamentalism, racism, or discrimination, a lot of things, So, and also the technology also has advancement of technology is a favorable tool today by which we can travel, and also the visa policies also welcoming the migrants from different parts of the world due to skill shortages, labor shortages in various sectors. That's what, for example, my topic is about WTO. Okay, also today it's playing its role to get migrants to fill the labor shortages in various sectors. We'll discuss that in the topic. So I think the topic is clear. What is immigration, and I'm just discussing. See, migration or spatial mobility is a very natural global phenomenon since time immemorial. Migration is not a new phenomenon. It's a spatial mobility. What is spatial mobility, Manish Tripathi? What is the meaning of spatial?
Spatial means a place, locating
place.
from one place to other because of geographical consideration.
Migration also, like a displacement. It's a displacement. You're displaced from one place to another place. Spatial mobility is a natural global phenomenon. It's not a new one. Okay, it's a world phenomenon. The reason for migrations are diverse, such as socio-economic, political, cultural, that may be contemporary or historical in nature. A lot of types and phases. It's a diverse. Since World War II, there is a rise of international migration in terms of space, volume, diversity, and character. That's what it has really evolved. International migration has been evolving in terms of volume, size, okay, and also diversity, heterogeneous today, okay. And origins and destination of migrants have become much more diverse than before. That's what today, the migrants are spread right across the globe. The number of international migrants, globally, today, 3.5% of the world population are migrants or immigrants. Okay. Okay. So this is the status. I mean, the 2019 guy, because which was, now latest, you may get it. So it's rising. Maybe due to COVID-19, it has declined, but usually it was rising before COVID-19. But India has been one of the origin country. India is not a country which has more immigrants. We are mostly immigrants. India is one of the very popular origin country in South Asia. That's what you have to keep in mind. And then followed by Mexico and Canada, all these other countries. China. Migration involves two important processes, such as emigration, that is movement. Take a minute. I'm just, choosing to. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just trying to, migration involves two important processes, such as emigration, that is movement of people from a country, and immigration, movement of people to a country. With regard to immigration, it not only creates opportunities, but also challenges for origin countries. Okay, see, immigration is basically one way. It's really, people look for opportunities, they leave the country. The origin country has challenges, like, for example, brain drain or loss of human capital. That's what we'll discuss all that in further discussion. The sending or origin countries obtain investments, economic and social remittances from its immigrants to boost the economic development, and migrants are viewed as a strategic asset for strengthening bilateral diplomatic relations. See, one way I told you, it's like a two-way process. One way, the migrants, if they're emigrating from one origin country to another country, there'll be a support, like they will support back the origin country in the form of investment, in the form of remittances. Okay, but the other challenges are like brain loss, the brain drain, loss of human capital. And also they play a very important role between origin country and host country. That's called strategic asset, to improve the diplomatic relationship between origin and host countries. Brain drain and the national security issues like the growth of terrorism, political and sectarian ethnic movements, or due to long distance nationalism of the immigrant. These are the negative aspect of immigration, In the case of immigration, the immigrants might contribute for the economic growth and development in the host or destination countries. The presence of immigrants add up to cultural diversity, and also they add up to multicultural practices. Okay, that is the impact on immigration. Okay, so this is what, the next one is, see, the migration, as I pointed out, it is like two-way. One way it is contributing to developing countries. Other way it also, like, the negative aspect is various challenges. The coast countries also might face national security challenges, especially from the illegal migrants. The advent of xenophobia, racism, because of presence of alien migrants amongst native population. See, apart from demographic change, migration also associated with various socio-economic, political, and cultural implications for origin and host countries. So both origin and host countries, they have different implications. socio-economic and political implications because of, that's why it's Janus-phased phenomenon. Janus-phased means both positive, negative hand. So given the above implication, today migration has been politicized, okay, in many countries of the world in the light of growing international migration in the recent decades. This is what I'm going to discuss. Okay, what is the impact of emigration and immigration in origin country as well as in the host country? This is what I'm going to discuss. This topic is known as the politics of or by emigration, immigration. Okay, is it clear? See, this is what I'm going to discuss today. Okay, first let us take up the World Trade Organization, WTO, and international migration. Okay, how WTO as a world body, a trading body, how it is playing, how it is facilitating the international migration. Okay, see, WTO is not only a world trade organization, it also, through various, tools or instruments, which is trying to promote international migration to fill the shortage of high skilled jobs, particularly in European countries. Okay, see, the General Agreement on Trade and Services, GATS, this agreement, if you look at it, which liberalizes not only trade in goods, but also trade in services through four, instruments, four modes. Okay, so what are those modes, that we will discuss now? What are those modes? One, this is what the picture is, WTO. Okay, for mode one, cross-border supply. Mode two, cross-border consumption. Mode 3, establishment of commercial presence. And mode 4, presence of natural persons across WTO member states. Mode 4 is related to the movement of natural persons for purpose of providing service across WTO member states. Okay, I want to ask you, where is the headquarters of WTO? Anyone from the class, can you tell me where it is located?
Geneva, Switzerland.
Yes, you're right. So they have, it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and it's a world trade body where I think almost 138 countries are members. I think around 138, maybe more than that now, but I am just giving you the old figure.
Now it must be something around 190.
Acha, 19. Okay, good. Thank you for this.
I mean, the only question we can ask, which countries are not the member of WTO? Now the question is this. For example, North Korea, another country. Yeah.
Good. So this world body also, they have
so while human intervention can be managed and regulated, it is not easy to.
What? Tell me. Abba, who's talking to me?
I think Abba ma'am's microphone was on mistakenly. Now she has muted herself.
Yeah, now she has muted. Okay, thank you. So am I audible, and also you are able to listen to me? Let me know, because that's a problem in online classes, because I cannot read your mind. You are there for only, through video I can read your mind, or I can sense, your presence. Whatever, if any issues, let me know, because these are technical issues, we can sort it out. Okay, so general agreement, that's GATS, there are four modes, which are, also one of the mode number 4, which is really a tool by which, the member countries can get skilled laborers from the member countries. That's what, there is a free movement, mode 4 permits free movement of temporary, not resident, temporary movement of skilled professionals across the WTO member states. Okay, that's what, this paper, which I wrote it in around 2021, 2020. So that's why I'm using the data of 2019. Okay, so this, what should I say? this, apart from limiting admission, see mode 4 includes, short-term duration of stay, and also different quotas are there, requirement to pass economic test, labor market test, all these things are there. But one main advantage is, this tool, this instrument encourages free flow of, temporary movement of high-skilled laborers across the member states of WTO, which is really, which is really in the sense advantage, for the high skill, right, engineers, doctors, these people, they can, scientists, they can easily move across this WTO member states with much restrictions, without any limitations. Okay, so this is what, why this was introduced, to avoid, labor shortage, skill shortage. That's why this is what, this kind of tools which are very really supportive, particularly in Europe. This WTO is very useful to fill the skill gap. That's what. So because this kind of, policies, have promoted international migration of skilled laborers, from various developing countries to developed countries. That's what. Because of this, today there's a, immigration, or immigrants are moving into various countries, and also immigration also has increased from, various developing countries, particularly from global south to the global north. There is a flow of movement of high-skilled laborers or semi-skilled laborers to various countries, which led to various, kind of issue today. In the host countries, they face racism, attack on immigrants, and also son of the soil policy. These things are, developing politics against immigrants, So one example is, I'm going to use here, I was asked to write paper on this, that is Bhumiputra policy in Malaysia. But this Bhumiputra, this Malaysian case, the international migration, or the movement of Indians to Malaysia started in colonial time. That's what we discussed, when I was teaching you about Kangani system or Indian labor system. But still, now Malaysia also attracting various Indian high-skilled laborers and semi-skilled laborers from India, and also unskilled laborers also from India. So that's what Bhumiputra policy in Malaysia. Bhumiputra means son of the soil policy in Malaysia. For example, Malaysia is a multicultural, multiracial country located in Southeast Asian region of the world. It has three races. One is Malays, Chinese, and Indians. Indians are third largest ethnic group, but the Indian migration to Malaysia happened during colonial time. Okay, lots of unskilled laborers were taken from India for the plantation work, and today Indian constitutes 7.7% of the Malaysian population, which is 28 million. Okay, so this is what the statistics. But Indians also very diverse in nature, like they are from north, south, and east and west, but mostly South Indians, particularly people from Tamil Nadu, who are the Tamil ethnicity is the dominant in Malaysia. Okay, so the major Indian ethnic group is the Tamils. They form the majority in Malaysian population because of the proximity between Malaysia and Tamil Nadu. That's why, and also the British government encouraged from people from south to move more numbers into Malaysia. The formation of Indian diaspora in Malaysia is strong because Malaysia was, always had this close links between India because of historically, well, because of its near proximity in terms of geography, and also our Indian culture has really spread even during the pre-colonial time, like our Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, which spread in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Malaysia, had under the influence of Hindu civilization, Hindu Buddhist civilization from India. So that's why, that long connection is there. The long presence of Indian traders also one of the reasons between India and Malaysian, connections. The labor thing happened during colonial time. The formation of Indian diaspora is the legacy of British colonialism. Today, you find the old Indians, the new Indian migrants in Malaysia. Means the post-independent Indian, the contemporary, migration from Malaysia, India to Malaysia. So you find this, that binary, the division. You can find it easily. Okay, if you go to Malaysia. See, affirmative action policy for the Malay. See, once, Malaysia is a land of immigrants, because the British, after taking over Malaysia, they welcomed, Indians, Chinese. The Chinese also immigrants. They are large numbers. Chinese, large number in Singapore, Malaysia. Even Singapore was, separated from Malaysia in 1962 because, Chinese, they want to have a separate country for themselves because of their, domination in Singapore. So whatever. But the thing is, so that's what, because of large presence of immigrants, which led to, British also introduced after independence, Malaysian government, the successive government which came into power, they introduced Bumiputra policy, which means son of the soil policy. Okay, in Malaysia, for the Malays who are majority in number. Okay, just imagine affirmative action for the majority, which really has impacted the immigrants like Indians and Chinese. They were having issues with the majority Malays because affirmative action is what? Positive discrimination to improve the other race, which is backward or, on the basis of son of the soil, native. Okay, or using this, provision at the time of independence, Malays, the majority Malays were.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Just a quick question. Can we distinguish between affirmative action and social justice, or they are one and the same thing?
See, social justice is a broader concept. Affirmative action is part of social justice policy. You're getting me, Manish? Social justice is a broader concept which is about justice for all, economic, political, social justice. Okay, but this affirmative action is is a narrower than, which is part of a subset of social justice. Okay, so positive discrimination was introduced for the Malays in various, for example, in government jobs. The quotas were introduced for the Malays. Okay. So this kind of system was introduced after independence in Malaysia, which impacted the minorities like Indians and Chinese. That's called, you see, look at the slide. See, while framing the Malaysian constitution, the Ketunan Malaya, which means Malay supremacy, is, as a provision or privilege, was incorporated in the Article 153 of the Malaysian constitution, which led to what? Reserving the land for the Malays, reasonable proportion of jobs in the public service, educational institutions, providing scholarships, trading and business permits and licenses where, Malays were preferred because of this Malay supremacy provision, which was inserted in the Malaysian constitution at the time of independence. Okay, why it was given? Because the Malay rulers were, they wanted to keep Malaysia still Malay land, not the Chinese or the Indians, because there was huge growth of, population of immigrants. Chinese and Indians were threatening the Malay population. So in order to maintain their hold in this native soil, they have introduced this. And also it's an agreement, social agreement between immigrants, leaders like Chinese leaders and Indian leaders and the Malay leaders. They, wanted this kind of social, this is called, contract, social contract, which was signed between, but it was not for the whole, throughout the, year. They just put time cap, CAP cap. But still, due to politics, they're not, replacing that. That is the problem, which is really impacting the socio-economic status of the immigrants, Chinese and Indians. They are having a lot of social crisis because, see, imagine a majority is getting reservation in all the jobs, in license and trade and business, just will have a more impact on the minorities, That's the problem in Malaysia. That's why there's always debate in Malaysia about race, Malay race, Chinese and Indians, So these kind of racist policies are, dominant discourse in Malaysia. Okay. So any doubt regarding this? That's called Bhumiputra policy. See, the ruling party UMNO, United Malay National, which is a right-wing party, which was in power. Recently, it was removed, but it was in power for so many years, so many decades. So they kept implementing this pro-Malay policies, which led to the gap between the immigrants and the ethnic minorities and the majority in Malaysia. That's what. See, the impact of Bhumiputra policy on immigrants or ethnic minorities in Malaysia. The new economic policy, which was also known as later New Vision Policy, National Vision Policy, National Development Policy, has reduced the economic equity and upward mobility of the Malaysian Chinese and Malaysian Indians considerably over the years. And also Malay language nationalism also has resulted in undermining the language of the ethnic minorities like Chinese and Indian languages are under attack. Okay, so this kind of nationalism, racism have impacted the ethnic minorities who settled, in Malaysia, a country like Malaysia. Okay, so this is what the Bhumiputra policy, son of the soil policy, has really has impacted the immigrants in a country like Malaysia. That's what I've discussed. See, the earlier part I discussed, the rise of international migration. Then how WTO is facilitating international migration of high-skilled laborers. Then I've discussed about how the immigrants, who have settled in the host lands, countries like Malaysia, how they are facing problem from the locals, the natives, because of this kind of racial policies or impacting upon their lives. That's what I've discussed. Now I am moving into other thing, racism and international migration. Okay, the international migration in the era of globalization appears to be on the rise due to various pull and push factors. Many states are emerging multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural societies because of international migration. The various nation states are put in place mechanisms to accommodate people of different cultures, races, religions, and languages. That's what today it's under, undergoing phenomenon. At the same time, there are a lot of reports about xenophobia, racism and discrimination in the host countries, which have received substantial numbers of immigration from the workers, asylum seekers. The concept like racism and xenophobia, are not the same. Even they overlap with certain similar attributes. So what is racism? Okay, so racism can be defined as an ideological construct that assigns certain race or ethnic group to a position of power over others. Okay, on the basis of physical and cultural attributes, as well as economic wealth, hierarchical relay where the superior race exercises domination over, control over others. That is called racism. Okay, so racism is on the rise because of, in response to rising international migration. That is what today you must have read about, attack on Indians in Australia, attack on, Chinese or various groups, the Africans in England. You might have come across this kind of news reports. This is called racism. What does xenophobia means? It means it describes attitude and prejudices and behavior of reject, exclude, and often vilify person based on the perception that the outsiders are foreigners. See, that's what xenophobia is, a fear, anxiety over the presence of the other race or other religious people or other cultural people in the midst of the natives. Okay, So irregular and unauthorized migrants are vulnerable to racist and xenophobic, attack in the host countries, particularly in Europe, like countries like Germany, where the refugees were, were what attacked by the local right-wing groups. Even they face a lot of prosecution of, these refugees who are coming from Africa. Like they come through illegal ways to settle down in Europe, so which they were not welcoming. Okay, this is what racism is. The rise of the new right-wing party, that's in Germany, which really, attacks the refugees from various countries. Ethnic profiling and discriminatory policies of migrants are in practice, are increasingly perceived as a security risk in this country because they see them as a security risk. Migrants or the immigrants are looked down upon, and also they are perceived, they are taken as security threat. That's what's happening in Finland, particularly Finland, Germany. These countries are having this kind of issue. Italy, the foreign nationals. Even though, for example, in America also, for example, America, the Muslim immigrants were not welcome from various countries. They recheck at the airport. Even Abdul Kalam, our president, when he left for when he went to America, he was double checked. Okay, so a lot of like this kind of discrimination, xenophobic, xenophobia, which are spreading in these because of what rise of international migration. That's what you can look at the Trump administration even also banned immigration of Muslim migrants from different countries. That's what for Syrians, Yemenians, Somalis. Okay, these they were restricted to enter America. All these things are happening. Okay, this is what I was just trying to do this. The next, let us discuss apart from racism and racial violence, the politicization of migration resulted in the exclusion of immigrants from acquiring of citizenship, despite their long settlement in some countries. Okay, so you can't become citizens even though you are living for quite some time in the host states. For one example, the Gulf region. Okay, we are discussing the citizenship issues in the Gulf. See, India and the Gulf states have a long trade and cultural relationship because of proximity. What proximity? Geographical proximity. The Gulf states are significant for India in terms of employment. They are employed. I think Indians, they prefer to go to Gulf because you get a lot of opportunities in petroleum, gas, and oil production industries, and other unskilled, particularly semi-skilled, unskilled laborers also, they find lots of opportunities over there. The first wave of Indian migration started when there was expansion of investment in oil industry in the mid-19th century. Indian migrants could be found substantially in numbers in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Okay, Indian workforce is composed of small number of skilled labor force, substantial number of semi-skilled, unskilled laborers in the Gulf sectors. Majority of migrant workers from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Gujarat, Bihar continue to migrate from India to Gulf states. But one thing you have to understand about Gulf states where the Indians, they can't become citizens. Okay, because the Gulf states never, or even maybe they give only for few, they can get citizenship. It's very rare, even that also rare cases. You can work as long as you have work permit, then you have to come back to your origin country, after having lived for so many years, but you can't obtain citizenship because it's a very small country. They have a lot of reasons to restrict this kind of citizenship. See, Gulf migrants are the, impossible citizens of the Gulf states, because they do not normally provide naturalization and permanent residency or citizenship to Indians or any foreign nationals, not only Indians, foreign any nationals. This is the restrictions. Okay. The Indian migrants working in the Gulf states are temporary contract workers. workers, employees who would return home on termination or completion of their work contract. The children who were born to Indian migrants over there could not qualify for citizenship. As like in other countries, suppose your child is born over there, then the child is a citizen of that country. But in the case of Gulf, there is no such possibility. Indians are the economic migrants who are always transient, they are temporary. So they are known as non-resident Indians. They are the one who are sending more remittances to India. Okay. Gulf states and also USA. These two countries are, these two regions. Gulf states have many countries, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar. So these countries and also USA from which India gets lot remittances. I think now we are reaching about $70 billion US dollar. It's a good, huge money which is flowing into India. Okay. That's what you have to understand. In response to the growing numerical minority status, so why they're not giving citizenship? There are various reasons. Resource problem. The next is they want to keep their land for natives. A lot of their own they have own reasons to restrict the citizenship, because very smaller states, desert states. A lot of reasons to say they're restricting. Even now they're restricting immigrants from India elsewhere also, because they want to employ locals. They're also looking for opportunities. They are because of unemployment problem, they are also restricting. A lot of policies now they've come in. It's called emigration is happening. Okay, so they want to employ more locals than the immigrants. These kind of issues are there, but still Gulf states are welcoming Indians, and also many Indians could be found in these Gulf states. So this is what, regarding citizens issues in Gulf. Then moving into next section called visa policy or immigration policy of Canada. So Canada has been a most popular destination country for immigrants. Canada welcomes a lot of immigrants because they have a huge country, lots of resources, and they have been, welcoming the immigrants from various parts of the world. So, but there is a change in policy now and then that we'll discuss. That's what, see, Canada has been following very, friendly immigration policy, because they need more human resources to work in various sectors. So this immigrants has significantly shaped Canadian society culture over the years. After the independence from the United Kingdom in 1867, Canada passed its original Immigration Act in 1869 and revised it in 1910. These acts were discriminatory in nature, as it welcomed. In the beginning, it was discriminatory because they want to restrict the immigrants from other, only they wanted Europeans. Now they were democratized the immigration policy, so they welcome immigrants from all over the world. That's what. The Second World War, there was an immigration policy, SIP, to welcome the refugees and others who fled from Europe. So this segment I'm discussing the immigration policy in Canada. Okay. Then followed by immigration policy was inspired by Cold War to welcome immigrants from anti-communist and Soviet bloc countries to Canada. Then immigration policy became more inclusive and non-discriminatory in the 1960s and 70s, that led to foundation for immigrants regime in Canada later. So Canada provides permanent residency to immigrants under 4 main categories, such as economic immigration, family sponsorship immigration. Then you have protected persons and refugees, humanitarian, on the basis of humanitarian reasons, you are allowed, you are given entry. So Canada's economic immigration has 2 important types: federal high-skilled workers program, that is what's given in the slide, you can read it. And second program is provincial nominee program. So these kind of programs are adopted to admit the economic immigrants to Canada. Okay, this is what, for the case of family immigration under this program, spouse, partners, relatives, children can join their family members already living in Canada. Okay, So this is what the immigration policy of Canada. So Canada is the world topper at present in terms of refugees resettlement program. Okay? They welcome refugees to Canada. For example, today you find more refugees from Sri Lanka who have settled in Canada because of this policy. Okay, so this is what the immigration policy today. It's very, welcoming. The beginning it was very restricted, but now they are open, democratic to welcome all types of immigrants into Canada. Okay, then coming to the USA. Okay, USA is very, it's a land of immigrants. USA is popularly known as the land of immigrants. Now they have 45 million immigrants who have come from different parts of the world. Okay, so USA also implements humanitarian immigration policy. It has evolved, for a long time. They welcomed all kinds they have different kinds of visas. H-1B visa, H-2B visa, H-2A for getting the needy skilled and unskilled immigrants. H-1B visa program allows US companies to temporarily employ high-skilled immigrants. H-2B visa program is for foreign workers seeking employment in new agricultural jobs. H-2A visa is for seasonal agricultural workers के लिए. Okay, so as a these are the visa program. But H-1B visa is mostly used by Indian IT professionals who have moved to USA through this H-1B visa, because H-1B visa permits to get green card, permanent residentship in USA. After having stayed for a period of 7 years or more, then you get a green card or a permanent residency there. That's why Indians, IT companies, they use this. I mean, the Indians who use IT company to get this green card because, it's given for high-skilled professionals. Okay. So this is what then, but even today, USA, during Donald Trump period, they have restricted migrant immigrants policy also. America first, American, what is the policy of Trump? America first, buy American and hire American, has led to suspension of immigration, like H-1B visa and all were restricted. But now I think this Biden's government is again, they brought back the old policy to welcome the high-skilled professionals from different parts of the world. They have increased the intake. Now they have brought back the old policy of visa policy in US. This is what I want to discuss. So today we have just discussed the challenges because of immigration and also because of immigration. Okay, so this is what today's discussion. So now the floor is open for question and answer session. So I welcome your doubts and also your comments and also your clarifications. Yes. Am I audible first of all?
Yes, very much.
Okay. Now it's time for questions. So let me take up a few questions then. Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Vijaya, tell me.
It's 10:45 here in Kuwait.
You are living in Kuwait, so you should tell us about the issues of citizenship issues in Kuwait and
yeah, it's 10:45 a.m. in Kuwait. Regarding the citizenship, as you said, it's not only for migrants, like different country migrants. It's for even the children who were born to Kuwaiti mothers. Like fathers are from other GCC countries or any country. If mothers are Kuwaiti, the children will get all the facilities, all the benefits for studies, healthcare, everything. But they are not allowed to own a property or they are not given citizenship. At the same time, these children, they are taking citizenship of other country, for example, Canada or USA or Germany, wherever they get. And then they are joining in government sectors to work and even in the private sectors. But mostly they prefer to join in government sectors. So this is happening with their own people also.
It's very interesting to know about this fact, but I want to know whether this kind of marriage is legal. For example, I am a foreign national, I'm married to a Kuwaiti woman, but what about the legal status of this marriage?
Sorry, sir, there was a voice break. Can you repeat the question?
See, for example, I am an Indian. I am married to a Kuwaiti woman. Okay, so is this marriage legally recognized or it's an illegal marriage? I want to know the legal status of the this kind of marriage.
It is not very clear, sir, because in few years ago there was an incident happened that one Indian driver, he eloped a Kuwaiti girl and he took her to Andhra Pradesh. He married over there. The girl went willingly and she married also. And there was a lot of issues have happened in this regard. So whether they consider it as legal or illegal, it is not clear. But one thing is clear, if they are marrying to any person who is out of their religion, it is must for him to convert. They don't allow their daughters to uh, convert their religion, but a few cases are exceptional. Other than this, marriage, if they marry to GCC or any foreigner, they are accepting it, but the children are not getting citizenship.
Okay.
That's and they cannot own a property also. If a Kuwaiti mother is having a property, as long as she is alive, they can live with her, they can get all the benefits, everything. But once when she's no more, then children has to leave the country or they have to go somewhere or they have to live like other migrants.
But Vijaya, one thing, I'm very grateful to you because you have.
But sir, laws in Kuwait are frequently changing. So there might be new updates also in this regard, but so far till today, this is what the information I have about. Maybe it might change anytime.
Just give me a minute. Yeah, yes, go ahead. Yeah. See, that's what, no, it's a very interesting to know that, but you have given me also a research topic to explore. Why? Because we have to check out whether this kind of marriage is legal or illegal.
There is a lot of disturbance in your voice is not audible and there is a lot of disturbance.
The voice is not audible because maybe somebody has unmuted. That's why. I think some cross line,
I think somebody's mic is on.
Ma'am, Haba.
Yes, I think. Yeah. Is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
That's what I think it's a good research topic to analyze, to check out, whether this kind of union, a marriage between a foreign national and Kuwaiti woman is a legal marriage. That's why they are just not giving property or whatever. No, you have to find out. It's a good legal topic, research topic. Maybe you can explore also. If you just look at the laws of Kuwait and find out whether Kuwaiti woman can marry a foreign national and whether that foreign national will be given a citizenship. Or, I think you have to, it's a good research topic. I think maybe some of you can take it up and write a paper on that. Thank
but
you.
It's very difficult, sir. Very difficult because since the policy laws are changing frequently and people are not open to speak on this subject and people are not allowed to, like there are certain law which restricts people to, talk on certain topics. So in such case, we exploring in this subject, we have to go deeply, we have to meet people, and identifying people also is very difficult because since they are not allowed, they don't get exposed outside easily. So it's not easy to research on this topic. Even the research centers also, so far I tried my best to know who all are the people might be interested to know here in these kind of topics. I checked in Kuwait University also, some other private universities also, but I didn't come across in neither in my social circle or in my workplace, because I'm also working in research center. But I didn't come across with such. If anyone is there, if voluntarily they are coming up, or if you all know, since you all are in this field since long time, so if you all can show the persons who are into these kind of things and who's willing to write on thesis or something, then we can, along with them, we can do. But so far, you can assume, sir, you can imagine, I'm the only student who enrolled for this topic. It means
So how
out
long
of
you
10
been staying
million,
in Kuwait?
I don't want to say much, but you can imagine how many people would be
How
interested
long you have been
to
staying
take
in
the
Kuwait?
risk of going to research on this type of topics.
Okay. How long you have been staying in Kuwait?
If I begin in 1995, but continuously I'm staying in 2005. But 10 years I was just coming and going.
Achha, so long. Okay.
So nearly 27 years.
Thank you for your intervention. Yes. Now, anybody else has any questions? Please open up.
So I was just thinking, this is Abha sir. I was just thinking, this issue which you are raised. Have you come across in any of the other countries? Because I know at least in Orissa we have, in India we do have certain spaces, specifically the hill towns where you can't buy land, or even you can go to that state. It's an internal migration issue, but it would be interesting to know if there are any cases like this in the international space besides
For
Kuwait.
example, other countries, they, for suppose you are Indian, you are just falling in love with a local woman there, and you will get a citizenship. That's why many people also marry those women and they get citizenship. Then they leave her behind. Okay, they divorce. Then again they marry Indian. A lot of things are happening like that kind of thing. But that's what only Kuwait. It's very interesting to know that they are not even giving citizenship to a foreign national who's marrying a local woman. But other countries on the international space, they give citizenship to a foreign national who's marrying a local woman. So once you you marry a local woman, then you get a citizenship of the country, then you can buy a land, whatever. There's no restriction on that. That's what, in overall, in general view. But there are some countries, maybe some exceptions. Okay? So I'm not generalizing, but mostly, you will get citizenship if you marry a local.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. So that is local. It could be male or female. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But that I'm
Right.
still doubtful. For example, if you marry, of course, must be. But I don't know about women.
So, but that would be interesting to know from Vijaya is in Kuwait, if a man marries a non-local woman, do those children get recognized, and are they also eligible to receive the property of the father?
That's what Vijaya should tell us, because still we have to
Ma'am,
we have to
here,
read
like children, I'm talking about the mothers. Like if Kuwaiti woman, if she marries to any outsider, like out of Kuwait.
No. That we understood, Jaya. I was
Fathers,
just asking.
yeah, there
fathers.
also there are some it's not very sure, and I'm not very sure about it. But in some cases, they were getting earlier, but policies have changed. So now whether they are getting or not, I'm not sure about it. I don't know.
Because will they?
But I will find out.
I think we have to read the law books of these countries, then we will find out whether they are eligible for, transfer of property or citizenship. I think it's a very legal.
Laws are changing frequently, sir.
That's
so books you may not get updated books, because if you hear the news, every time they are changing laws.
No, I'm just telling to Ms. Abba that about we have to understand more deeper. We have to read the law books, law statutes, in those countries. Then we can easily, answer your question. I think
They are following Egyptian law, sir. So I
Okay.
can say this thing. They are following Egyptian law.
Achha. Okay, Arabic law.
We Indians are following British law.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So any other questions regarding this politics of emigration and immigration?
Sir, is there any central database where all the rules and regulation related to migration can be found at a central place, like International Migration Organization?
No, Manish, there is a problem. Still we don't have any kind of data. Like even Indian government has also not done this. I think now they are in the process of doing it. Still, we don't have a clear data. For example, how many, how many Indians have left India? I mean, like maybe the international migration, now they may have a database, but I don't think so. You have a database which clearly indicates how many Indians are living outside India. Maybe the old migration, even colonial migration, the contemporary migration. Maybe I think the younger, maybe the economists, they should also step in to compile this data of, I think the government has to focus, then only we can have policy. Once you have data on hand, then we can go for policy of, policy for this kind of immigrants from India or elsewhere. So we don't have a data clearly. We have data, but very superficial. It's not clear. Okay, based on airport, from different airports, they get data on how many are going out, how many are coming in, all that. But still, there is no authenticity, or you don't have clear picture on this. There's no big picture on this. That's what I want to say.
So I also just wanted to understand, the way this whole in US, there's this whole wave of anti-Asians and specifically anti Indians and other things. Yesterday also we heard one news where somebody has been getting a politician come teacher, I think she was been getting threat calls and other things, and finally she shared a video also where they said you go back to India. So if the laws are changed, or there is like Vijaya was mentioning, every time there is a change in the law and other things, does it also impact the old generation of migrants?
No, actually, I'll tell you, there are maybe some kind of, stray incidents, but US is still very safe, and US law establishments are very democratic. Ms. Sabha, you should not have any negativity on US because,
No, I'm not having any negativity. I'm just putting it across. My sister is already a migrated person from there.
In comparison with other countries, US and Canada has a very good policy for immigrants, and also it's a land of immigrants. You have an alternate discourse there. Your human rights are respected. Maybe few stray incidents, attack on, of course there is a racism on blacks and all, but still you have a laws to, protect from all such kind of discrimination. There is a very vibrant, robust legal system they have. You get justice for that's what maybe it's a personal, individual, kind of here and there attack. But the Trump administration time, not racism, but American way of life was imposed. American, buy American, be American, all that. That's what. But still, US is a very safer country, and also it's a preferable destination for immigrants because you are treated on par with the locals. All that. Even Canada also. But I'm not sure about European countries because different countries have different policies. because Europe, they have a resource crunch. So that's why they are very little suspicious and all that, So lots of racist attack on the refugees.
So one more question I wanted.
Hello.
One more question I wanted to understand, sir. So I just wanted to understand one more thing is how the countries, different countries have different years of staying in their country, then they give you the citizenship. What are the bases? It's more like you just mentioned resource crunches, or is it because of, it would be a political decision basically, I think.
Yeah. It's a political decision also, it's all based on ideological, orientation. For example, England, whenever the conservative party, coming to power, excuse me, you can go. See, conservative party, whenever it came to power, they were not welcoming a lot of immigrants and all that. But whenever the Labour Party was in power, it was very democratic for that. So it also is a political, you're right. And also, resource also plays a very role, you have to look at the resources, unemployment situation there. The locals should be, employed, they should be made happy, all that. So a lot of factors, but it's also partly political decision also. I agree with you. Yes. So anything else?
Thank you so much.
So any more questions from you all? Because you all from very far off places. I'm very glad that you are doing your assignments and all very well. And at the back of the end, I have put the references for your reading. And I think to understand the Gulf situation, you read a book called Impossible Citizen by Neera Vora. It's a very good book, which talks about the Gulf state scenario very well. The book is Impossible Citizens, which really will tell you the life of the Indians in Gulf states. Okay. Yeah. And for Malaysia, you can read books by R.S. Ratnam, and also recent books by various scholars. There's a reading list in the material, so you can read that. Okay. So then immigration policy, USA, Canada, you have to rely on the websites of those countries. They keep changing the policy according to the time as well as the party which is in power. Okay. So what else? So tell me, now it's time for lunch. Can we break for lunch? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any doubts?
No, I think the subject was very detailed, and particularly Malaysia and Canada and US migration policy was discussed in detail.
Yeah, that's what Manish, you have to read the policy, immigration policy of USA, Canada, which has been evolving. Okay, it has been evolving, and they keep changing according to the need of the economy as well as the interest of the political parties. Immigration policy also determined by economy as well as politics over there. Yeah, so I just thank you all, and I just stop here. So can I have Dr. Sahu here? Dr. Sahu, are you there?
I guess he's not there. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I'll call him up, and any Manish, anybody doubt, like others, like Sudesh?
No doubt at all.
Okay.
You said clear.
Okay, Sudesh. Sir,
Yes,
Sudesh, you are from Punjab?
Telangana, sir.
Telangana, okay. Tell me, Sudesh, how is your classes going on, and what else have you understood? Immigration?
Yes, sir. Yeah. You're understanding. Yeah, many stateless children, even in Kuwait, I heard.
Okay.
Couple of years ago.
Because of
that is a big issue.
Yeah, because of this issue, yes.
Yeah, I'm a child welfare committee member in Telangana in a district. But in India, there is a UN convention that says wherever the child was born, that citizenship will come to that child. UN Convention on Child Rights, UNCPC or something.
Okay, good.
So convention kind of thing. But
Mr. Sudesh, is it applicable for Kuwait also and GCC countries also?
you need to fight for that, ma'am.
Who will fight?
You.
No. That part we will keep aside. But I'm just asking if it is UN convention that this is the right of the child, then why GCC countries are not following?
No, but they have to be party to the agreement, no, Vijaya? See, for example, the binding. See, these countries are not following because these countries have not, maybe they have not signed the agreement, or maybe they are not party to this agreement. That's why it's not binding on them.
So why US is not persuading them to do so?
See, you can't persuade, you know, it depends on the country's interest, you know. Even India also has not so far, we have not signed the refugee convention, you know. India is hosting many refugees, but India has not signed this refugee convention yet. Tell me.
In such case, UN cannot claim that we are the world leaders.
That's true. See, but you can't force somebody. So you can't force any country. So it all should be, you know, convinced, persuaded or convinced, you know. Okay. So thank you for all your questions. Dr. Sahu.
I think Sahu sir is very busy today. Why? Because Sahu sir and me participating in Qatar, 13th to September. It's an intra-regional dialogue series, Asia Gulf countries on implementation of Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration,
Okay.
GCM.
Where? Online?
Yeah, no, sir. It's a direct meeting, face-to-face meeting in Qatar, Doha.
Achha. So going to Qatar, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you're going?
I am 12th night. I'm starting from India. Hyderabad, sir.
Achha. No, in Hyderabad, it's happening in Qatar.
Oh, it is in Doha, sir. It is in Doha. This meeting conducting by IOM.
Achha, IOM.
Yes.
Okay. So you are all, both of you are going?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
20th September to?
September 13th to 15th.
Achha, today is what? Maybe day after tomorrow you're leaving.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. How many days you're staying there?
3 days only, sir. They are not allowing and they are not permitting to stay more days.
It's a sponsored trip or you have to put your own?
It's sponsored by Qatar government.
Okay.
IOM taking initiate, MFA and other organizations in collaboration with that.
Okay. That's nice, Sudesh. And you are a migration scholar?
Yeah, no, sir. I'm a trade unionist. I'm a social worker, actually. I established one trade union, sir. It is a Pravasi Mitra Labor Union.
Okay.
Yes, sir. According to Trade Union Act 1926, it was registered.
Sudesh, okay. So you know all the labor issues from the Gulf and all.
Yeah, sir. Yes, and interstate and international.
Okay.
I'm closely associated with Immigrants Welfare Forum, EWF India. Mr. Pgdmidi is a president. He was in Hyderabad. We are working with jointly, sir. Now I got a topic. What is the reintegration process in India to migrant workers post returnees? How it can be linked with
Dr. Sahu sir, we have completed the class,
Yes.
and also we are interacting now. It's done with Sudesh.
Okay. So thank you. Any other thing? Otherwise, we can conclude. It's almost 1:30.
Yeah, we have concluded it. We are just, you just came in right time.
I saw your call, but I was in another call. So, okay. Thank you, Dr. Mahalingam.
Okay.
And all our students. This is the very good, group
And
of
also, I'm very glad they are very, active students. Like they
yes, all the time.
all the time they ask questions, comments, and also they're giving their own inputs. It's good.
Okay, so take care. Goodbye. We'll meet
Yes, sir.
soon. Next Saturday, I'll announce again before time. Okay.
Okay.
Take care.